Nico Iamaleava silenced every doubter, every critic with a performance for the ages against Penn State. That NFL draft stock has risen significantly.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Welcome back every day, or thanks for making this show your first listen each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, download. Thanks for your support. What we're talking about today in this shortened edition of Locked On UCLA is Nico's superhuman performance. Just about, 24 hours before the game, everything was down on the Bruins. Myself, everything. Nobody could have thought that this was coming. And then Nico, because everybody says Nico has been special. Even the CBS Sports article prior to the season, special. And then I sit here like, all right, his draft stock's fallen. Not even a single, just not even an individual effort could do something if he did something against Penn State to save and resurrect his NFL draft stock. Well, I was wrong and I was a little dumb. And Nico says, hey, this is the reason I am the 5-star. Putting the Bruins literally on his back, carrying them with his legs, 5 touchdowns accounted for, 3 on the ground, and 128 yards rushing. That doesn't include the yardage lost from the sacks. And overall, a 70% completion percentage. He had a performance that not even Joey Aguilar could have done to lead UCLA to victory. No quarterback, I think, in the country could have had a performance like this, where Nico was getting popped multiple times, trying to lean in for touchdowns. On the 2-point conversion, where he single-handedly raced around like you might see in a high school field on a Friday night in Southern California, found the guy wide open, and kept the Bruins in front. Because if the Bruins don't get that 2-point conversion, that's a 3-point game, and Penn State, all they need is a field goal, or they're driving for the win late in that game before they got stopped on 4th down. And instead, Nico comes through with one of the best individual efforts I've ever seen from a quarterback. Just the ability to keep the play alive, to keep the ball out of harm's way. Hold on to the ball. Yes, he did drop it once, picked it back up. And every single time UCLA was 3rd and long, it just seemed like he's running. And I remember someone made the comparison that I think Kyle Whittingham, that Nico is Cam Newton-esque. Well, he pulled off his Superman, did the whole showcase, the sign in the front, and then boom. It was Nico's day. Like, clearly, yes, it was a great effort by the defense to get Penn State off the field. Some receivers made some plays. The O-line stepped up immensely. It was great coaching from top to bottom. Yes, you can include the onside kick in there too. But this was Nico's day. His moment to silence everybody. You could argue it's a Heisman-esque performance. Now, yes, it's not going to happen with UCLA starting 0-4, but that's the type of dominant performance that I'm not sure we've seen from any quarterback against a team as highly touted as Penn State. Now, Penn State may be a little injury prone with what they were losing at the linebacker room into this game or during this game, but that doesn't take away from what Nico's faced, all the criticism, myself included, everybody else, where you can go see the same amount of criticism, other shows, other places, national level. But here I am. Yeah, I'll take a mea culpa. That was my bad, not realizing Nico had a performance like that in him. Nobody thought UCLA could perform up to this level with a new offensive game plan implemented just days before this game against Penn State, who is not known to go up and just give up 5 straight drives of scores. UCLA, 5 drives in the first half. Like touchdown, field goal, something ridiculous against the James Franklin-led team. That just doesn't happen. That just does not happen. It takes a special type of individual. Take all the criticism, all the hate from the Tennessee fans, all of he's probably his camp, quote unquote, working on the deals for where he might head in the offseason. But if there's just a small sliver that he could stick around and be the talented quarterback with a new coach, whether it is a Tim Skipper, we'll tease that in other episodes, or some other coach that's an offensive genius, pair him with a young, hotshot offensive coordinator. Is that Jerry Neuheisel? That would get UCLA excited for 2026. There's certainly more to be developed for Nico, but that's what makes him such a young, exciting college quarterback, because he can go do something like this. I think Tennessee fans were waiting all the time for this. And it's even funnier that the time that the Tennessee fans had a bye week, they could have watched this and been like, this is going to be as bad as it gets. And instead, he rose to the occasion. Many times he was left on the turf, left down, trying to get up a little slowly from the Rose Bowl turf, and just responded every time. what was the number? I think, 2 cracked helmets against Ohio State in that playoff game where he got knocked down by everybody, including myself. Everybody talked about it. And yes, it wasn't the best of circumstances, and it's not the best of lights, whether it was his fault, his decision fully to make that transfer from Tennessee to UCLA. But he backed it up finally with this play in a Bruin legend-like moment. UCLA could go 1-11, and he could still do his individual best to keep UCLA in these games. But the fact that UCLA had a win of a lifetime against a Penn State team that has national championship aspirations, a CFP Final Four team a year ago, a team coming into the year that was top 2 in the country, off of, yes, a shocking loss at home to Oregon, but under no circumstances could there have been a performance like this that would have kept UCLA in this game, right? And instead, UCLA received, Nico goes out there and comes out and makes a play and makes another play to the tune of 3 scores on the ground, 8 yards per carry, and a run of over 50-plus yards when the game was still in the balance in the second half. And just did that over and over and over again. Reaching over, the ball's almost getting punched out of his hands. He's reaching over, getting the touchdown. 3rd and goal, 5 yards out, dives, weaves through 3 Penn State defenders, and finds his way in the end zone. And oh, by the way, one of the better throws, dropping it in the bucket in between 2 defenders to Quasi Gilmer, where I didn't even think we've seen a throw like that from Nico, hitting small windows that would impress the NFL scouts, where I think it was reported, close to 30 guys where they're scouting this game, certainly to see if Drew Aller's up to snuff, probably looking at the Penn State running backs, some of these defenders, some of these O-linemen for Penn State, and then, what's the name? Nico Iamaleava, the one that stands out, rises above everything to kind of restore his image a little bit. Now, it's going to take a lot. It really depends on how this season turns out, how the offseason turns out, because there's still the realistic possibility that as much as he will become a Bruin legend with this performance, he can go pony up. He can go get some more money elsewhere in the portal. This could have earned him an extra $1 million to $2 million in the portal. This is why he commanded that $4 million, or his camp, the idea that they went out to Tennessee. We want $4 million. We want more money. And then came out and said, that's why, with the team that clearly did not come into this game showcase any ability to protect or create the lanes and the openings for Nico to run through, or just enough time to make plays against teams that are way worse than Penn State. Yes, Penn State could be overrated for sure, but there's no way Penn State is any worse than any of the teams UCLA's placed, especially up front. And for all the hits that Nico has taken, came up and just said, yeah, no. The reason the Bruins were so successful on 3rd downs, some of which good play calls, execution by Nico, and just the will to win. I think I saw the quote on social media. I don't know if it was the LA Times or who wrote it specifically, but Nico came out and said something along the like of, if you want to leave, leave. And Nico hasn't been touted as that loud locker room leader. But if that's truth, if he's come out and said it, yeah, if you want to leave, leave. But otherwise stay here and build something in 2025, a team that has nothing to play for, which we thought could have been the case when the Bruins started 1-5 in 2024. If he's becoming that vocal leader, if he wants to embrace the Southern California fandom, spurn all the other potential offers in the offseason, say, I need another year of seasoning. And if he can become a true Bruin lifer for the 2 seasons he could stay, 3 seasons max at UCLA, him chest bumping his younger brother, that's what the vision was. Now, it came off to a very slow start, an absolutely slow start. Laughable. Yes, Joey Aguilar has certainly upgraded his situation. And despite this performance, yes, Nico probably would be in a better situation at Tennessee in that offense and putting up big numbers, because Tennessee has put up big numbers in every game they've played, basically, win or lose. But there's some type of performances that Aguilar couldn't have done. When it came up to the Georgia game, they lost that game. Now, yes, they blew the lead. They missed a field goal that was easily makeable at home. But when you're kind of going 1-11 sometimes, and Nico is running around like you do at recess as a quarterback with a pass rush or in flag football, and a dude just dominates like he did, that is just a remarkable performance. And that's why he's clearly the player of the game, just making everything happen. For all the awful headlines and all the stupid, horrendous things we could have said, everything said. Man, we applaud it to you, Nico. Hats off to your performance in this game. Legendary. It'll be one that we play over and over. You go back to the Rose Bowl highlights, you see that highlight, like, man, for all the crap we took, all that nonsense we had to listen to, whether it be from me or anybody else, they're going to play that highlight of him just racing down Penn State, 10-year anniversary. UCLA, one of the biggest upsets in Rose Bowl history. And you're going to see the Nico highlights. It's going to be like, yeah, we remember the nonsense we had to deal with losing to New Mexico and UNLV and Northwestern. And, man, we got that game. Now, can it grow? Can this grow? That's the next question. Can this thing grow? And that's why we're going to talk about it throughout this week's episodes of Locked On UCLA. Stick with us. Can this grow into something with Michigan State and Maryland on the schedule? Could this go to 1, 2, or 3 wins? Or is this just the moment of the 2025 season and we got to live with it? But for Nico, one that silenced the critics for a night and the highlight of his college football playing career. Well, here we are. It's the weekend, and it's time to look back at who was the week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Well, just like you could have won every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, this player delivered when it mattered the most. And let's break it down. Nico Iamaleava for UCLA delivered in a huge way. Multiple rushing touchdowns, multiple huge conversions throwing the ball, including the 2-point conversion for the UCLA squad to come through and beat Penn State. Nico delivered, no hesitation, no delay, and proved it was no fluke why he was one of the better players to come through the high school ranks and through the portal. And people watching, the performance wasn't a fluke, it's a streak. And just like Nico, for UCLA, DoorDash delivers on your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this upcoming Saturday and keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. We'll see if this is the Nico moment or the building of something very special at the end of 2025. And if this was just the one moment, it is, I don't know if it's worth all the pain and the embarrassment, but it was a Saturday to remember. One that you'll, if you're a UCLA fan catching any part of this, will remember forever and ever. And Nico, man, that's a moment where you're like, that was a performance for a lifetime. Certainly was the case. Stay tuned for more UCLA Locked On UCLA episodes where we dissect Tim Skipper's candidacy for the opening for UCLA. How did they perform overall as a team? Game against Penn State. Is it likely that Skipper gets the job? And hey, can the Bruins build on this moving into a Michigan State week with a long travel and an early start time that makes it a little worrisome? All that and more on the future Locked On UCLA episodes. Hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA fight, fight, fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.